Yep.
Going ahead.
Also, spoilers.
Spoiler warning.
Spoilers.
We will be discussing the
She-Hulk.
entirety of She-Hulk.
TNMP, the Nerdy Misfit Podcast, with your hosts, Connor O'Neill and Matthew Hughes.
Hello, listeners. Hello, Connor.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going.
It's going, eh? That's my thoughts, too, after watching that show.
Welcome to a special episode, a Friday episode.
A Friday episode, our second ever special.
Second ever special, wow. Feels like we should have more, but
I
we
feel like
have
we should,
recorded
but
one.
We have, but then
Release
stay
the
tuned.
dates.
Yeah.
Actually, potentially.
2 weeks from now?
2 weeks?
2-3 weeks from now.
Depends on how
the
lucky you
third
are.
special will be out.
Depends on how Matt's feeling.
Exactly. Matt will do his best. It's okay. So Connor, today's episode, Marvel themed, specifically
She-Hulk
ended.
Thank God. She-Hulk ended.
Werewolf at Night came out last week. Basically, some Marvel stuff came out, and it's all finished now. But before we talk about all that stuff, today we are having a drink. It's a green drink themed.
We're back on our beverage.
Yep.
There'll be episodes that come out where we don't because we recorded earlier in the day. Or
Exactly.
had guests that didn't want.
Exactly. So today, Connor, what are we drinking? It's vibrant green, like gamma radiation looking.
It's gamma radiation green. It's because it uses Midori. And this Midori, if you don't know, is a melon liqueur. Obviously, Japanese. But it's a Midori sour. That is as simple as it is. I bumped it up a bit because the Midori sour is, I think, basically just citrus juice with Midori. So I added a little bit of vodka to give it a little bit more oomph. And then this specific recipe is topped off with some soda water.
I'll be honest, I really like it. I'm liking this one.
Matt likes the sweet drinks.
I do.
But it is pretty good. So that's the drink we're going to be sipping on. Green, themed like the Hulk.
Yep.
Obviously. She-Hulk.
She-Hulk specifically.
And Hulk,
And Hulk.
which is in this.
Yep.
Going ahead.
Also, spoilers.
Spoiler warning.
Spoilers.
We will be discussing the
She-Hulk.
entirety of She-Hulk.
And
So,
briefly about Werewolf.
If you haven't seen it, but want to, come back later. If you don't plan on seeing it but want to know what happened, listen away.
Exactly.
If you've seen it, God bless you. Thank you for listening to more about She-Hulk.
All right, Connor, where should we start with this? There's a...
Okay, well, I'm going to start by saying I was happy that they were 20-minute episodes.
Okay.
I get that a lot of people worked on them because obviously they're higher budget shows, so weird that it was like 8 minutes of credits every time, but yeah, I was happy they were 20-minute episodes because I don't think I could handle this show if it was like an hour-long episode every time. We'll see how I feel about that when I look at some of the Star Wars shows that are out.
Yeah, and/or almost an hour episode, it seems like. Don't know how long the credits are yet, though.
But I've heard good things, so we'll see. But for She-Hulk, honestly, the first episode wasn't bad.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a decent... Obviously, they changed slightly the origin. But I thought it was, a good little, this is what happened kind of thing, right? And then it's kind of funny because I feel like whenever I talk to you about She-Hulk, every week you're like, this is the best She-Hulk episode. Which is at least a good thing for the show. That each episode it did get better. Maybe not significantly better. My favorite episode, I believe, was episode 8.
The finale?
No, episode 9 is the finale.
Oh, Ribbit and Rip It.
8's the one where we first see Matt Murdock and Daredevil.
Yeah, and Frogman.
Of course. Which I felt like was the best episode in my opinion.
Sorry, not Frogman, Leapfrog.
Yeah, Leapfrog. Gotta go to his lily pad layer. But that was my favorite episode.
Okay.
9 was different. The finale was different. Can't say I've ever seen a finale of a show quite like that.
Okay.
And overall, I would say, what did I give Ms. Marvel? I don't remember what I gave it.
I want to say you gave Marvel like 7 or 8.
Okay, if I gave Ms. Marvel 7.5 or 8, I would give this like a 7 or a 6.5.
Okay.
I don't hate it, but it's not my favorite either.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't like go out of my way to watch it. That's kind of my opinion on the show, honestly.
As a whole.
Yeah.
See, I don't even know where to start with this show.
Oh, I should preface this by saying I had never read like a standalone She-Hulk story either.
Yeah.
So I was going in pretty blind. I didn't want to like do any research because I didn't want to just like, I already don't know that much about the character. I don't want to like be like, oh, well, they didn't even do her origin right, or they didn't do this right. Like, I just wanted to be like, okay, I already know nothing. I'll just enjoy it as I know nothing.
Okay. That's fair. See, I know a bit of She-Hulk's origin. We've talked about it in a previous episode. The show as a whole was decent. I find that this was something... What I find a lot with the Marvel shows that...
Who's the show for? Because I think the one thing where they drop the ball is... I've watched a couple of Law shows, and I like them.
Yeah.
They're different. They're not the same as like every other show. Obviously, they're still like the typical drama within the office kind of stuff, but they're at least like different in their own way. And I just feel like they kind of dropped the ball for that on here.
Okay.
Like they obviously we know she's a lawyer and they do mention it, and there are
Court
where-
scenes.
yeah.
Yep.
It just feels like they could have done more.
Yeah, I would agree. It feels like they could have done more, especially on like the...
Maybe it feels like they were scared to because they don't. It's a superhero quotations.
Yeah, but I
story.
still enjoyed what they attempted to do because it was a comedy show, yes, but it was very episodic. I find like a lot of the other Marvel shows, there's like a continuous story.
There was a
There
bit.
was a subtle. I feel like the
subtle.
subplot was like
Yeah.
a continuous story of her like coming into her own and like fighting against Titania eventually, right?
But yeah, but generally it was a little bit more
very episodic, which feels fitting for a lawyer
Yeah, because day-to-day
style
stuff
show.
is different.
Exactly. And it
cases.
showed a different side of the MCU I don't think we've really seen, which I think Marvel...
I like. What was your favorite part? I like the costume maker idea.
Yes.
That was cool.
I
which
enjoyed
is
that.
also funny because I saw that in Titans,
Yep, there's
which I recently caught up on because
Mm-hmm.
obviously it's getting the new season. But there's also a costume maker in that. Which, if you've ever seen Demon Slayer, there's a sword maker, and he
Mhm.
gets very upset when someone breaks the sword because it's like, you know, his art form. He's done
Yeah.
everything he can to make it beautiful, whatnot. And so when the main character breaks the sword, he like chases the main character around all angrily. Basically, the same thing happened in Titans, where Dick Grayson burns the Robin suit,
Yep.
and then he goes to this guy to get a new suit, and he's like, "Excuse me, you don't get a new suit." Like he's all like, "You burned my baby."
I feel like that's an underrated character that it's in all different fandoms. Like the person who makes the suits or makes the weapons.
Well, it's because it's one of those things you just don't think about because, well, so many of us have probably seen Batman movies or, you know, especially the Dark Knight trilogy where it's
Yeah.
like Bruce has, you know, his guy,
Yeah, you see...
which is just Wayne Industries and into Fox, right? And Fox does
yeah.
it. And you're just like, okay, I can buy that. Fox doesn't technically know Bruce is Batman because he's never asked and Bruce has never said it.
Exactly.
So it's like you can't say it for certain. So there's always that like, you know, safety between the two of them. But that's what a lot of people just, you know, for Batman, they're just like, okay, Tony Stark makes his own stuff. You know, Spider-Man technically makes his
Yep.
own stuff. So it's kind of cool to be like, there's no way every character knows how to make
Exactly.
this stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
I do agree
and
with
not
that.
every character's rich. So you're
Also
just like,
true.
and in some special cases, like She-Hulk, like she clearly needs some sort of special material or something, right?
Stretchy.
So like you can be like, okay, maybe she knows how to knit, or maybe she has some money to buy it, but at the same time, no.
Exactly.
So that's cool. I think it's an underrated thing that's not touched on a
Yeah.
lot.
I do. I think that's probably my favorite character was the designer. I
Oh,
think
he was
a
your
great,
favorite? Yeah.
Probably. But what I enjoyed is that I feel like every episode we kind of got introduced to a new character,
Yeah, kind of in a
like
bit.
which
Yeah.
kind of made it feel more episodic. I think because like the one episode we got Leapfrog, the one episode we saw the people that was at
Abomination
Emil's-
was in a couple episodes, but
Yeah.
he wasn't like the entire show.
Yeah.
Which I feel like a lot of people
Wong
probably
popped
thought,
up a couple times too.
but you probably thought Abomination was going to be such
Yeah.
a mainstay
Plot
throughout.
point.
And he was in a way, but he wasn't like the big bad and you just followed, right? It was
Exactly.
like he was just kind of a nice little pull-in to the like, hey,
Exactly.
we're wrapping up that, you know, the Hulk, all this Hulk universe stuff in the MCU is all together.
You say that, and then at the very end, they're like, "By the way,
Yeah.
here's Scar, who's a teenager already." And you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
Here's a new Hulk.
here's young Hulk." Baby Hulk.
which is also opens up a whole new can of worms. It's like, well, you said, could it be Young Avengers?
Yeah. Could it be Young Avengers? Could we getting the whole like
maybe a Planet Hulk kind of scenario? Like if they're feeling crazy and want to do I mean, they already do entire movies.
Well, they brought Abomination back, and we have Hulk. Now we have She-Hulk. Now we have Scar.
It's a shame that we don't have the true Red Hulk
Unfortunately, rest
due
in
to the
peace.
passing. Yeah, but doesn't mean they can't have the Red Hulk in a different.
They could still technically carry the character on. As
Who's
long as we
the
only see
the
him
current Hulk?
in the comics?
Yeah.
It's still Bruce Banner's back, but there's I forget his name is Cho. I can't remember his first name, but he went by I think his slogan was the totally awesome Hulk. Very Marvel now when they kind of
very
rebooted
Marvel
it.
Names. Yeah, I mean they could introduce him as
There's
well.
him. There's also you have Hulkling, who was part of the Young Avengers.
They
He's
could
like a
do
Skrull.
They could do a Planet Hulk similar to kind of like when they first announced they were doing Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, I remember being hyped because I loved Civil War as a story.
Yeah.
But I remember being like, "There's no way they're gonna introduce all these characters." And then obviously there was all the Spider-Man stuff going on when it got announced Spider-Man being in it. It was like mind blowing because he's such a key role in the comic story. He didn't play. There was no role that was quite fit the same. That obviously the whole concept is much different than the comic, but it was just so hype. But you also knew there was no way they're going to get that level of characters in it, right? It wasn't an Avengers movie.
Correct.
May as well have been, but
Avengers 2.5.
but
Captain America.
But they just don't have that many characters, and it's a lot of money
Yeah.
to have all those experienced and great actors. It's a lot of money.
I also
for all the
think that if
CGI.
they threw a bunch of new characters into that movie,
it'd be confusing.
it wouldn't have the same pull. Even the fact that they introduced
maybe, yeah, but it'd also be confusing for people because think of how many people watch MCU movies that don't actually read comics.
Exactly. That's why I think for the Civil War movie, anyways, I think it was okay that they brought in Black Panther and Spider-Man because also Black Panther's story was incorporated into it. Obviously,
I liked it for what it was.
Exactly.
Obviously, I knew for a fact there was no way it was going to be like the same concept that Civil War is. Do I wish we would have gotten a more closer accurate? Yeah, I think that would have been awesome. But the problem is, it's the introduction of Spider-Man.
Exactly.
How would a MCU Spider-Man ever have that same pull of showing who he is in the MCU?
Was it I think it was at the end of Spider-Man Homecoming. They did have, I think it's the end. I don't think it's the post-credit scene. But at the very end, they hint at that scene from Civil War because it's Spider-Man going out to like a publicity stunt, and it's like Pepper Potts is there happy, and they're like, "You should take off your mask and do the interview," and they're like,
yeah, they after credit.
No.
Yeah, and there's like and they show off like the spider, the Iron Spider for the first time.
Yep.
For like, he could have worn this suit or whatever.
Exactly.
Like they had the suit ready for him.
Yeah, I think going back to that is actually what I do appreciate. It was a throwaway line in episode 8 of She-Hulk. Is they talk about the Sokovian records just not existing anymore.
Yeah, it was like a throwaway line, but it kind of be as like
But
it's not
also
it's not
a good
relevant.
answer.
Yeah, it's not. It gives people in the MCU an idea of what's going on. But yeah, Daredevil was interesting to see. Was kind of hyped to see.
Were you cool
Disney
with?
Plus.
Were you okay with the costume design, the yellow and red?
No,
No, you.
I don't
like
like yellow. I don't even like the regular yellow Daredevil. I'm more of like the hardcore dark red.
Mm-hmm.
But I did like their chemistry. I thought it was pretty good. Yeah,
This is a controversial question because a lot of people aren't happy with this. But what's your opinion on like the more like upbeat Matt Murdock route they kind of took?
You mean where he's a little bit more quippy and happy?
Yeah,
I don't mind it.
neither do I.
I don't mind it. To be fair, like it's like obviously there's Daredevil fans. People love the character. But he does come off a little one-dimensional when he's just like the same.
Yeah, he's like angsty, but he's like monotone angsty.
Yeah, exactly.
Almost.
It's like so I kind of like what they did where he's still when he's Daredevil, he's still
Daredevil.
Yeah, for sure. And I just like every time he like pops up in something, I love the actor too. I don't know.
Charlie Cox,
Charlie
great
Cox,
actor.
He
fits the role.
It's like
perfectly.
it's one of those MCU where you're just like they nailed it.
Yeah.
Which usually they do, to be fair. But like when he shows up in the Spider-Man, that's also like fantastic because obviously at the time, well, the Parkers are not wealthy.
No.
So it makes sense that Matt Murdock is helping them out.
Exactly.
And I love the brick. He's just
the
like
brick.
It's just like the right level of humor where it's not like too much.
Exactly.
But it's just the right amount where you're kind of like, it doesn't make you like laugh out loud, but it makes you kind of like have a nice little That was
Yeah,
funny.
and I think, to be honest, it also fits in with Marvel. What Marvel's trying to do for like the new show Daredevil Born Again, and they've talked about in interviews how it's going to be like a new version of Daredevil. I think this is perfect because it is literally Daredevil like turning over the leaf. You know what I mean? Like he's trying something new. He's not trying to be as angsty
Yep,
per se. He's trying to be a better lawyer. Like he's starting his own firm and stuff, right? So it's Daredevil and Matt Murdock are both being born again, right?
But yeah, what did you think of what was the villain's name? The one girl that kept showing up.
Titania.
Was not a fan.
I
Is she
think
like a massive villain?
I think
for her?
she's a big villain fan of She-Hulk. I also don't know overly too much of She-Hulk other than her origin and the occasional story that she pops up for an Avengers comic.
Yeah,
But
and that I knew
overall-
she was part of the Fantastic Four for a bit.
Yep, she was part of
Like,
the
I know-
Fantastic Four.
which would be interesting. We've seen her in the MCU now. We know the Fantastic Four will come.
Yep. She also did
Does
help
she make her
out-
way into a movie with them?
Probably not.
Does she represent them?
Maybe.
How are they going to do the Fantastic Four origin? I know that's a little off topic, but it just them mentioning it, I didn't think about it. But do they just do the in the space weird cloud?
I think they're either gonna do it where they've already like you see like it's
Oh,
gonna be
like
a
they're already
throwaway-
the
yeah,
Fantastic
yeah,
Four? Yeah.
But it's gonna be
Oh, I
hinted
guess they
at
did say no origins anymore.
exactly. So I think what's gonna happen,
Even though we've seen many origins
yes,
since that.
so Disney Plus shows are different.
Oh, okay.
It's not movies. I could easily see it as like a throwaway thing in like the end of a movie, right? Post credit scene, the main character is turning over and he's watching the TV, and it's
Oh,
just
that's
this
kind of
family
interesting.
like comes back or whatever, right? Or like
like people gone to space attacked
yeah,
by
yeah,
a cloud.
yeah. Reed Richards goes to
Famous
space,
scientist,
yeah,
yeah.
gone missing, kind of thing like that.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that's
I feel
true.
like
they could
that
link
would
it
be
in
what-
with a movie, which is kind of what
Exactly.
they've been doing with a lot of the newer phase
Exactly.
stuff. Is like
They're
even-
hinting at it.
even this, right?
Yeah.
The abomination with
Abomination, Wong. That was a scene that we saw in Shang-Chi,
yeah, exactly.
and now it's tied in.
So it's just like
Easy peasy.
little things because it's not as obvious as like this post credit scene is us building the Avengers. This post credit scene is working up to
Exactly.
Thanos. Like
That's what I appreciate about the Disney Plus shows is that they're each unique to the show, but they're also adding mythos to make it.
yeah, they're still
like
building
it's-
up lore in a way, like you said.
Exactly.
Like we got the Accords, so we kind of know what's going on with that
Yeah.
at the current timeline.
Hulk does leave, and then he literally comes back saying, "Hey, this is where I was. By the way, here's my son."
Yeah, it's just
Right.
like little things that are like still building up the universe with characters.
Exactly.
Kind of putting people where they are. Like you said, we could get Young Avengers, we can get the West Coast Avengers because obviously we're in the West Coast now, but obviously the main Avengers that we know of that we've followed are all in New York.
Exactly. So this is
everything
finally
always happens
branching
in
out,
New
which is
York.
nice. Everything always happens in New York. But I think what's cool about this show too is there's a lot of like Easter eggs. Marvel's been doing this thing now for Disney Plus shows. It's a very subtle Easter egg, but on every episode of She-Hulk, I think it's every episode of Moon Knight as well, there's a QR code somewhere in the episode,
Oh,
and you can scan that, and that gives you a free comic.
Oh, that's cool.
So for the She-Hulk, it was free She-Hulk comics, and then for
it's
the Moon
every
Knight,
episode?
every episode there's a QR
So did you
code.
find it every episode?
I had to look a couple times in videos to figure out where the QR codes, because sometimes they're super obvious, where it's just on like a door or on like a poster or something.
So it's kind of like, well, I mean, obviously Disney owns
Yeah.
Marvel, but it's that in Disney you have to find like the hidden Mickeys.
Exactly. hidden Marvel QR codes.
Hidden Marvel QR codes.
But I don't know. I did enjoy the show overall because when we first started watching it, we did discuss how like bland and we weren't really sure about it.
Oh, yes, that's fair.
But watching it, looking at back at it as a whole, I think it was a solid thing. I enjoy that Disney was attempting to do something different, where it was a comedy, episodic story.
And like I said, the 20-minute kind of episode was good.
It
was like
worked.
just the right amount of time, I think.
I agree.
Do you want to talk about the insane fourth wall that was the finale?
Kevin. I loved the Kevin thing.
The Kevin
I thought
thing
it
was
was
funny.
so
I also
funny.
thought when she went to the meeting,
Yeah.
and they're like, no one talks to Kevin. And I was like, just waiting for like,
The two of the people that are in that writer's room is the writers of the show as well.
well, I'd imagine.
which is pretty obvious that they would have
but
done that.
I'd imagine. I just was like picturing like Kevin Feige just like showing up, being like, "What's up? What do you need?"
Yeah.
Like just being super nice when everyone's just like, "No."
I
one talks
expected it to
Kevin."
be Kevin Feige,
Same.
and I love it. I love that it wasn't him.
Yeah,
It
and I
was-
also loved like how he's just like, "You don't get to choose."
he's also the machine itself. I don't know if you noticed, but it's also wearing the ball cap that Kevin
Yep,
Feige is pretty
yep.
much always wearing. So I thought that was funny as well.
Yeah, if it was a robot, if you don't know, it was just,
yeah.
and I can't remember what Kevin stood for, but it was an acronym.
It was an acronym for something, which was funny because I was watching it with subtitles, and it said like in the subtitles it was Kevin was an acronym, and I'm reading it, I'm like, why the frick is Kevin an acronym? I was like, that's weird that they did his name that way, and then it got
Then meet
revealed
Kevin.
like a minute and a half later. It was kind of weird, the whole Disney Plus.
Yeah, when they shifted
Fourth-
to the home screen of Disney
Yeah.
Plus Marvel, and
like,
She-Hulk just like smashes where she wants to go, and
Yeah.
you're like, what the heck?
Another subtle Easter egg during the Kevin scene is that when they make a comment of like, "Oh no, we've moved on to a new project," the Black Panther theme plays for a couple
I
seconds.
didn't notice that.
Yeah,
That is funny. Yeah, they're making budget jokes.
Yeah,
for,
they're like,
like,
yeah,
like,
sorry,
"Oh,
you can't transform
Can
on
you transfer
camera."
off camera? Because that's a lot of money.
but I think it's nice. I think I'm excited to see what's gonna happen with the Hulk mythos next because Abomination's come back after like 12 years.
12 years of being absent.
The scientist in Incredible Hulk, the one that like has a crack on his skull and like some of the super soldier serum goes into him, like the Hulk radiation goes into his cut.
You think I remember that?
No, probably not. It's a throwaway line. Throwaway scene, actually. He's going to be the villain of Captain America 4. So we're getting more Hulk mythos with Captain America 4.
That's in Captain America 4. Just
The leader is his name in the comics. But that's going to be the Sam Wilson Captain America movie. Yeah.
nice, exciting. I like Sam Wilson.
Good Falcon cap.
Makes Captain America more interesting.
Exactly. I do agree. So I'm just waiting on Red Hulk or Red She-Hulk if either of
Red
those
Hulk,
are going to
Red
come in.
She-Hulk, yeah, that's
A-Bomb
true.
is another one. He's like Blue Hulk. I don't really know too much about him. But he's like another part of the Hulk family.
The Hulk family.
But anyways, moving on, Connor, I want to play an audio clip. So 23 and 2 specials ago, including this one, our very first episode of the podcast, we briefly talk about She-Hulk. I'm going to throw you down a little memory lane here, all right?
Is this when She-Hulk was first announced?
I think so, yeah.
Or I
around
guess
that
not
time.
first announced, but like
Around
probably
the time.
getting like the date that it would be released or something.
Yeah. So, for the listeners, we apologize about the audio difference that's about to come out, considering our audio quality has improved a little bit.
Different microphone.
Exactly. But yeah. Kind of surprised to see that She-Hulk was getting an actual show. It looks good, I guess. I don't know. I think
it doesn't look top tier quality, but it doesn't look.
It's not the
poor
worst
either.
thing Marvel.
I think she's an interesting character in terms of Marvel lore.
I'm curious though if they're going to do it the way they did in the comics, because in the comics, in a nutshell, she became She-Hulk because she needed a blood transfusion from Bruce Banner, and that's how she got the gamma radiation in her blood, and that's how she became She-Hulk. I don't know if they're going to be doing that.
Marvel doesn't do origin stories.
Exactly. Marvel doesn't do origins. It's 2022, guys. You know,
There's
Marvel
no
doesn't do
origin
origins.
I was thinking more just like, the working class woman kind of thing.
Yeah, like
Well,
the
I guess
lawyer style kind of
obviously
thing.
you have Matt Murdock for Daredevil, but I
Yeah.
just mean like it would be cool to see a female lead just being more that, like a hero, but is working a real job.
A 9 to 5 kind of job,
I guess that's like oddly different than just getting like the superhero overload
Exactly.
that
Question
we have.
is, though, is Daredevil going to be in the She-Hulk show?
That'd be
With
great.
Matt Murdock being, in quotations, canon into the MCU now.
Have them go off against each other.
Could you imagine? That'd be a great secondary
funny.
storyline, you know?
I would love that, personally.
I think it'd be great. I think they both fit that kind of style, and I think be a perfect opportunity to kind of bring in those Netflix Marvel shows into the main Marvel extended universe.
Yeah, I do think that was a bit of a miss on Marvel's part for not including them in some of the bigger movies.
Yeah.
Dang, he was a genius.
And
I was right. It
you
was
were
my
right.
favorite
We were
episode.
both right.
It was my favorite episode.
Just listening back to that episode the other day, I was like,
It is
This
true.
is
That is what I
amusing.
would have liked. And they got part of it, but not as much
Yeah.
as I wanted, I think.
sorry. I think me making the call, was thinking that Daredevil would be a great addition.
It was enjoyable
opposing
that she
sides.
didn't want to be She-Hulk.
Yes.
And she definitely was opposed to it. And, it's kind of a coming in age in the terms where she's like, this is who I am now. I have to accept it. And
Which I
that-
thought is nice.
Which was good with the way they, she had to, sue for the rights of She-Hulk back.
Yep.
It was kind of like a clever way of using the whole law situation, her being involved as a lawyer, and combining it with you have to accept who you are now. You're not the same anymore.
Mm-hmm. I think also specifically episode 6, it was the wedding episode, which I thought was really weird,
Yeah, that was boring.
but it was good in the sense that it's to go to show that not everyone wants the hero all the time. Sometimes they just want Jen over She-Hulk.
But
kind
then
of
she was
thing,
drunk and she
but
did
then
like
she
that
was
She-Hulk
drunk and it was
there.
fine.
And she just
But it was
totally
a crappy,
eliminated
yeah,
the whole thing.
I agree. I think that part was very unneeded.
It did also feel like they were kind of bullying her as well, getting
Yeah.
her to do a bunch of stuff.
100%. That's the whole point of that part.
Wasn't my favorite episode, but I get where you're
Yeah.
I get where you're coming from. Where it was like a yeah, just it's not all glamour being a hero.
That's fair. I
For
do also
sure.
appreciate, it's not really, I guess it's an Easter egg, but not really, but the opening of the last episode is basically them remaking the original intro to the Incredible Hulk show from the 70s.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's
I
what the
remember
whole
that,
style was.
Yeah. What did you think of the CGI for Hulk? Like She-Hulk as a whole?
I thought it was okay.
It was decent, but you could definitely tell it wasn't as good.
But they also don't have the high,
As big of a
The
budget,
budget,
obviously.
right?
But it just, it did stand out a bit for me.
I think at certain scenes it did.
Some of the ones where it was really focused on her talking.
Yeah. But I think overall, like, that's not going to be the end all for the show.
Oh,
in
no.
my
It's
opinion.
kind of like judging an anime that has, like, some background CGI and
Exactly.
being like, oh my God, and that background CGI.
Yeah, this is terrible. It takes away from everything.
But it's just, you notice it is all.
Yeah.
It's just
I do
what
agree
I'm,
with
what
that,
I'm
yeah.
saying. What did you think of the, her superhero outfit? I liked it.
I think it's how it is in the comics. Like the purple.
Well, the comics is a little bit more scandalous.
Yes.
But
in
I
some,
like-
not all.
True, but in a lot of her
Yeah.
comics. But I liked that it made sense. It made sense for her. It was sporty. It wasn't just overly sexualized because she's a woman, which was
Exactly.
perfect. But it was still the costume. You know, like that color scheme was perfect, and
It was nice.
I liked it. I thought it was really good and looked good. Looked modernized. I liked the costume.
I think overall, like, the show was solid. Like, I would probably give it a 7.5.
I'm gonna stick to
Again?
my 7 or 6.5.
Again, overall, I thought it was pretty
Makes
good.
me more excited for more Daredevil.
Yep. It makes me want to rewatch some of the Netflix shows, to be honest.
Yeah,
But that is a little bit of a commitment.
Yeah, there are. There's a good.
Well, I
chunk
should
of
say the
episodes
Disney
now.
Plus shows now, because
Oh,
they are on Disney
oh,
Plus.
yes, the Disney Plus.
The Disney Plus.
The Netflix Disney Plus original.
shows.
They should have that as. Obviously, they can't do it because they can't mention it. I'm sure, but it'd be funny if it was like, you know how they have all the Marvel, Star Wars, originally Netflix shows.
Used to be Netflix. Moving on from She-Hulk, another Marvel thing that came out recently was the Werewolf at Night.
Yeah, I wasn't really into it. I kind of like glazed over it. I'll say I was busy doing some other things,
That's
and
fair.
I had it on. And but what did you think? Like, what are some of the obviously spoilers ahead, but like, what are some of the Easter eggs or anything that I kind of missed that were big by like kind of not paying as hardcore attention? Was there anything like brutally just like, well, that was cool, or that was really cool to see that character?
I mean,
The
not
ending guy, what was his name?
like the werewolf.
No, like the guy that kind of looks like Swamp Thing.
Man-Thing.
Ah, wow, what a name!
I'm gonna tell you. Okay, so I really enjoyed this.
He looked great,
Presentation.
by the way.
Man-Thing looked really good.
Yeah, like it looked
I was
great.
The thing is that so for you
When-
guys who
when
don't
I first
know,
saw him, I was like, oh my god, when did they bring Swamp Thing into the MCU? They just buy it off DC.
what? So for those who haven't watched it yet, it is 95% black and white.
Not my favorite, but I do give credit to being different.
Yeah.
An original, you know. Obviously some people do it, but it's, you know, it's still different. It's not
Mhm.
something that's done every day. So, you know, it may not be my favorite, but I liked it.
So personally, the stylistic choice of doing it black and white fit the style because the whole story was revolved around that cliche like old
Yeah,
monster
like the old
hunter
monster
30s.
style. Yeah, like
So I
the
thought that was
Dracula,
great.
old Dracula, old werewolf, Van
Exactly.
Helsing, old style.
Black Lagoon, Dracula, the old ancient.
Even like some of the clothing too. Like
Yeah.
it was it really
worked.
fit the time.
So that was a big thing. The way they opened, even with just doing the black and white Marvel logo for a little bit with a couple scratches, I was like, okay,
That was cool. Yeah.
I'm interested. Then I don't know who the narrator was, but just the like opening narrator of like, and it was today that this man died. It was like very dramatic, and I was like, okay.
Good narration helps a lot.
It does. But then yeah, I was watching it subtitled, and so I was at work while I was watching it, and you get introduced to Man-Thing, who in the comics his real name is Ted. So when it gets introduced that Man-Thing's there, and he's like, "Oh, I'm trying to help my friend," like his name is Ted. In the subtitles, it just comes up saying Ted Snarls, and I couldn't help but just smirk. I was like, Ted Snarls? I can't even pronounce this word. Snarls.
Snarls.
So that just kind of made it amusing. But I think it was, like you said, it was something new. But the thing also about, even when he turns into a werewolf at the beginning, not the beginning, but like when he becomes a werewolf later on, when we don't see him actually transform and we don't know really what he's going to look like yet, I thought that was really neat.
Yeah, that's true.
It built up like proper suspense. And this was probably one of the most gory Marvel things so far.
They're preparing us for Deadpool.
Heck yeah.
Did we mention that Deadpool is coming? Well, we
Don't
know
think we
Deadpool-
mentioned it, but it's pretty.
We mentioned that Hugh
Jackman's going to be
in it,
returning
which
as
was big news.
Wolverine. Deadpool 3 is going to be part of the MCU.
It'll officially be part of the
Yes.
MCU, and that it will not affect the Logan continuity. I
Correct.
guess, technically, because
But it's
happens
Deadpool, so
way
he'll-
before Logan.
Right before Logan, but don't know what timeline because, X-Men.
I'm sure.
Um,
I'm sure Deadpool himself will tell us.
Yes, he
in
will.
the middle of the movie.
Yes.
I'm sure he
In
will.
case you are wondering, by the way.
I would not be surprised if after his first F-bomb or like something, he like is all like, not the Disney movie you were expecting, huh?
Literally, though.
But yeah, definitely excited for that too. But yeah, I don't know why I mentioned that, but it just
It's still big Marvel news.
is big Marvel news that I don't think we mentioned. Like obviously everyone knew about Deadpool getting a third movie, but that was big news. I don't think we may have mentioned
think the-
previously.
Only 2 Marvel things that are coming out this year still is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever,
Which we
is
will watch.
We will watch middle of
Don't
November.
know if we'll have a special out for it, but we definitely will
Chat about it.
Chat about it on a podcast.
And then I think at the end of December we have the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, which will be similar to the
Matt will
Werewolf
watch
at
that
Night.
and mention it to everyone.
Well, it's going to be like a Disney Plus special, similar to the Werewolf at Night, basically
Matt will
a
watch
TV
it and
movie.
he'll let us know what he thinks about it.
And I will attempt to
And he
make
will
Connor
tell us
watch
how
it.
much he likes Baby Groot. Baby Groot. He is Groot. And
He's a tiny
he
Groot.
Sells lots of toys.
Merchandise.
He sells lots of merch. So keep
True.
him young and cute, I guess, or whatever.
So Connor, in the very first episode of Nerdy Misfits, we talk about the Disney Plus shows and how you haven't watched any of them. So
Yes.
as an update for the listeners,
I've watched many. I've watched something called, what was it? The Wolf in the Hula, and then I've watched the Hulk of She, and I've watched the Marvel of Ms, and I've watched Boba Fett.
have you watched a few episodes of WandaVision?
Oh yes, I've watched the first 3 or 4 episodes
Okay.
of WandaVision now. I've watched enough of WandaVision to basically understand the Doctor Strange movie,
That's fair.
and I feel like I did because of it.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Which means you
it
got like
definitely you didn't need to, because you can kind of pick up on what happened, but it definitely helps understand Wanda's mindset better. But
as the show goes on, it gets more intense, obviously, and you understand a few
I do
more
need to
things.
still watch the
Falcon and Winter
Soldier,
Moon Knight,
Moon Knight,
Hawkeye.
Hawkeye.
I think that's it.
So not that bad.
I feel like we're missing one.
That's probably not that good.
I like second guessing myself. I'm like, are we missing one?
No.
WandaVision, Falcon, Winter Soldier, Moon Knight, Hawkeye.
Yeah, that's all of them, right? Unless you include like some of like the, what's the one called, the What If series or whatever.
Oh, What If? That's also a good one to watch.
I have seen. Well, how many seasons of Shield have you watched, Matt?
Well, it's about that time to wrap up the episode.
I can at least say that I made up for it with all the seasons of Shield I watched before.
Loki.
Oh yeah, I did watch Loki.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I
Oh,
hated
that's
it.
awkward. Oh.
Well, I didn't. Okay, that's strong. I didn't
Yeah, I was
hate
gonna
it.
say that's a hard H.
I didn't hate it, but it was definitely honestly as of right now my least favorite of the shows I've watched, including WandaVision, which I haven't finished. I just didn't like. I didn't like the whole concept of like this is meant to be. We're supposed to come. I don't like
Yeah,
like
that's
the
fair.
hardcore predestined stuff like that. It's not my favorite. I really and like it takes so much out of like. Okay, don't get me wrong. they're superhero movies. So at the end of the day, you know the superhero is going to win. It's the same as any
Yep.
hero, protagonist, anime, et cetera, et cetera. Like, for the most part, you're like, okay, well, I know what's going to happen. Like, I know they're in danger, but I know they're not in danger.
Yep.
Right? And then that just, like, emphasized it even more because it's like, it's all meant to be. The Avengers were always going to win. Like, and you're just like,
Yeah.
I already knew that, but I don't need you telling me that.
That's fair.
So I didn't like that kind of stuff in Loki.
That's understandable.
I liked the buddy cop-ish
Style.
It was fun.
It was different.
Like, it just feels like they're like, I know people love Loki, like the actor,
Tom
right?
Hiddleston.
Tom Hiddleston, they love him. But like, can we just be done with Loki? Like, for real? Like,
No, I can't argue with that though. I think the big thing right now is the fact that with the way Marvel's going is we're getting all these new characters. We're wrapping up everyone's stories. And it's just Loki's dead in the main story basically. And now
how
we're
many times is Loki
getting
need to die?
this spin-off story and like Loki's getting a season 2.
I feel like that definitely feels like one of those ones where they're just kind of like cashing in on what.
Yeah, I don't want to say Loki's a money grab, but
We don't need Loki. His story
is done.
is done. We don't.
It was fun for a lot of cool Easter eggs. Don't get me wrong.
And he popped in so often already.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, yeah, the 3 Thor movies, and then he was in Avengers 1 and Avengers 3.
yeah. I had enough of Loki. All of the Avengers, almost, except for 2.
Yeah, I don't think he was in Age of Ultron.
But
I don't think he was in Infinity War either.
he probably was.
Or was he? To Infinity War? I can't.
He probably
Yeah, he was in the beginning of
'cause
Infinity
he
War.
probably disappeared.
He died in Infinity War.
Yeah, see, he was in it. He got erased. Or did he
No,
die?
he full on got killed at the beginning.
Well, he always gets killed.
Because then Heimdall opens the frost, and that's how
yeah.
Thor gets back. Yeah.
Okay, whatever.
Years ago, mythos.
But yeah, I'm okay with no more Loki. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's
Like,
fair,
I feel
fair.
like we're done. Loki's tale is over. Thor is doing his own thing. He's doing his own thing. Love and Thunder, baby.
Exactly.
Him and the girl.
Psych.
Saving the multiverse. I don't know what they're saving.
The end of time, gods
God
and
things.
stuff.
Just doing things.
Just
and
doing God
stuff,
things.
And she's got the axe hammer. I can't remember what the name of it is.
Mjolnir?
Starbringer?
Stormbreaker?
Stormbreaker. That's it. That was close.
Don't worry, I got you.
No, I know what the name of the hammer is. The axe thing that gets jealous, which was
Stormbreaker.
really weird.
That was a weird thing, to be fair.
It was a weird
I
shtick.
do think if they come out with an assembled episode, I'll probably watch it for She-Hulk. I'll watch the Moon Knight one because it's just like
the behind the scenes.
the behind the scenes. Yeah.
Yeah, the behind the scenes for a lot of stuff. I mean, I think I talked about it, the Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
But
I haven't watched.
I haven't
any
seen
of
a lot of the MCU stuff. I can only imagine it's just as interesting.
Mm-hmm. There's one for Doctor Strange. Don't know what that is. The Moon Knight one I've watched. Eternals, Hawkeye. Basically, there's one for all the new stuff.
Love me some new stuff. It's the best. Best around.
All right, guys. Well, that pretty much wraps up the special here. Connor, is there anything else you'd like to add?
You can watch it. You can watch it. It's
Yeah.
alright.
Would you recommend it, or would you just be like, if you want to watch, you can watch it, but you're not going to be like,
If you're not a
need
big
to watch
superhero
it.
fan, I think it's a pretty good one.
Okay.
Like, if you're not, like, I'm assuming, like, I haven't seen it, but I'm assuming, Winter Soldier and, the Falcon is, like,
Mhm.
more, like, a
That's
lot more
buddy
action.
copy. That's action, but buddy copy.
But Shield was a little bit more off center when it comes to the
Yeah.
superhero stuff.
If you want answers from the Hulk movie from 2008, She-Hulk got you covered for most
got
part.
you covered. But yeah, this has been the two lads, the Nerdy Misfit boys.
Yeah. If you guys have any questions for us in regards to anything Marvel or anything nerdy in general, make sure you send us a message on any of our various social media platforms.
Yep, the link tree will be in the description to follow all of those. We do have a couple projects coming up down the pipeline that you guys should look forward to. So
Stay tuned.
Look out to follow us on TikTok, subscribe to us on YouTube, as well as
Instagram and
look
Twitter.
out for a potential Discord opening up soon.
Yep.
So
A lot
join
of
us
things in the
there.
pipe works.
A lot of things being worked on, a lot of things being scripted,
Yep.
being recorded, being edited.
And if there's anything you guys want us to talk more about, let us know. If there's any TV shows, specials, anime, manga, so on and so forth, anything, just let us know. We'll give it a watch. We'll give it a review.
We'll give it a discussion right here on the Nerdy Misfit podcast.
And we will see you all next Wednesday.
Yeah.
TNMP, the Nerdy Misfit Podcast. Don't forget to join the island by dropping a follow. Thank you. And see you next week.